Howdy, howdy, howdy. Welcome back to MCubed. I am your host, Harris, and today we're talking about Antman and the Wasp, Quantumania. Did you enjoy it? Let me know down below. And then after we discuss a little bit about Antman, we are going to go delve a little bit into Phase 5 of what the MCU is going to bring and kind of gauge our excitement level, talk a little bit about each project and you know, see what's gonna be going on. And all right, let's start with Ant-Man. I don't know if y'all seen it or not yet. I saw it opening night this past Thursday, and I expected a lot from it, and I got some from it. Oh, howdy, Shelly. So I the way it was advertised, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, I kind of thought that it was going to be somewhere between Lord of the Rings and Star Wars esque epic. It seemed like it was going to be an epic, and that was not what we got. It's not an epic. It was a good amount of fun. I really did enjoy it on a fun type of level, but that's not what you're going into movies to feel something. And fun is something you feel, but it's not an emotion, you know. You want something a little more strong and certain that you come out of the film feeling, and not so wishy-washy per se. And it's not that I felt wishy-washy, because I could feel pretty early on when I was watching it that I needed to manage my expectations and kind of say, okay, this is not an epic, and it doesn't feel like an epic, and I don't think it's going to become an epic. And that made it a lot more enjoyable. I know my out of theater reaction, which if you haven't seen, go check it out, y'all. I said that it was a great B-level sci-fi film, and I stand by that. That is going to probably be one of the good and better parts, I think, of the film. I did like Peyton Reed's direction if you're thinking about it in a B-level sci-fi film, because it doesn't feel like an Ant-Man movie, and it doesn't feel like this epic Avengers level movie that I think they thought it was going to feel like. It just kind of middles out. But if you look at it with that fun B-level kind of sci-fi fantasy film, it does kind of change the perspective a bit. And I think it makes it a lot more enjoyable, a lot more exciting, and it doesn't make you take things as seriously, which is not what the film wanted you to do, but kind of what ended up happening. I don't even know if B-level sci-fi film is the right way of claiming it or categorizing it, because it does consider itself highbrow sci-fi with the kind of concepts that it brings forth. It's just the way that they're handled that it feels like a B-level thing. It feels not childlike in nature, but not amateur in nature at all, because it's everybody at the top of their fields and in their games doing this, except for maybe the writer. But the rest of the team is just fantastic. So, I'm not necessarily sure how it ended up feeling like a B-level film, but it kind of ended up that way. It almost feels like Marvel's The Mummy, in a way, and not necessarily, because I think The Mummy is a better movie because it balances all these things much better. But it unintentionally ended up kind of feeling like Marvel's The Mummy, or Marvel's Ant-Man Journey to the Center of the Quantum Realm, instead of Journey to the Center of the Earth, which would the Quantum Realm technically be somewhere? I don't know. That's a good question. Good conceptual question. Which actually brings me to another thing that I thought that the movie did well, was their conceptual stuff. Excuse me. Had to turn the mic off to get that one there. But I think the conceptualism handled in this movie was handled not exceptionally well, but pretty damn well. Obviously, these things are very hard for your average moviegoer to be introduced to and to kind of expand their brains to the levels of the concepts of the things you're talking about, all within the runtime of the film, and you typically within the first act, so that second and third act can hit more. I think they really started trying to expand the concepts of the film more in the second act, which hurt it a little bit. But for showing just a general audience what these things are and how, yes, actually all these things are very possible within the laws of physics. Literally everything that happens in Ant-Man Quantumania is possible within the laws of physics, technically, which is just kind of weird to think about and to grasp the audience's brain and to introduce them and convince them that is a truth is weird. And of course, when I say that it's all reasonable and lawful within the laws of physics, it's typically without superpowers, but who knows, somewhere out there, something, I don't know. I'm not the person to tell you, but that aside, I think the concepts were fairly well handled because of how simple they were able to make them. It helps just, once again, your average viewer go forth. I don't know if it necessarily excites the people that understand the science behind a lot of these things, which a lot of, comic book readers and moviegoers, sci-fi specifically moviegoers, do understand these type of concepts and have seen them a million times and have been reading and watching these things throughout their lives. And this was just not something that felt exceptional in that manner of speaking. And I like Peyton Reed a lot. I think he's a really talented guy, but this just doesn't hit with that same level of film. And I don't know if it's the concepts holding the film back as well. Even though I feel like they were generally handled well, I don't know if they were honed in well, if that makes sense. But I tend to go along the lines of, not too shabby with those concepts for your general audience. But for those kind of like nerdy kind of guys and girls that, really like to delve into things, I don't know if it's going to hit as much. And it didn't hit me in that level that I'm talking about there. It did hit me in that kind of, woo, this is a cool little story. But if they treated it, I feel like I would have really, really liked this film if they would have treated it like a Journey to the Center of the Earth movie, or they would have treated it like, what did I just say a moment ago? Right before Journey to the Center of the Earth, the Mummy. There we go. If they would have treated themselves like they were one of those projects because they knew humor was going to be involved, I feel like it would have come out a lot better. Now, I guess the next thing that we're going to discuss, just on the good topics. I know I'm kind of back and forth on the good and the bad with this one because it's dicey. It's a controversial film in all the best and all the worst ways. Not really the worst ways, thankfully, but in all the best ways. It's just kind of, some people think it's some people love it, some people don't like it at all, and they're like, what did I just watch? And I understand, I feel like every single one of those viewpoints. But there are two things that most everybody are agreeing upon, and that's Jonathan Majors, Kang the Conqueror, and Janet Van Dyne, played by Michelle Pfeiffer. And Michelle Pfeiffer's great in everything. Maybe not absolutely everything she's in, but 90 to 95% of everything. She nails it on the head, And this is one of those roles where, honestly, she's more vital in this film than Ant-Man or the Wasp. Really, this is her movie alongside Kang, more so than it is Scott Lang's film. Which I feel like if they're going to add all these jokes, they should have joked about Lang and Kang somewhere in there, just a little alliteration joke for everybody. But alas, they did not. Now, I feel like Michelle Pfeiffer had a couple of odd scenes in there. I don't know if the whole Bill Murray scene was necessary at all. Lord Kyler, I think something like along those lines was the character's name. And, the scene was well acted generally. There was nothing wrong with it. It's just kind of an odd thing to include in the film. I understand that it's set up, okay, Kang has kind of generals. Kang has, levels of people here. But I'll get to my thought process there in a second. Let's keep talking about Kang, actually, because Janet Van Dyne, played by Michelle Pfeiffer, was a wonderful character, probably the best of your main cast in the film. Although I did like Paul Rudd. I think Paul Rudd did a good job, did pretty well with everything he was given. And same thing goes for Cassie's character, played by Kathy Newton, Cassie Lang, and Evangeline Lilly, who is great. She's awesome, and she wasn't given anything, but Michelle Pfeiffer was, and she did well with what she got. And then so did Jonathan Majors as Kang's, because Kang the Conqueror is a weird character to conceptualize, to get back to that word, to rope us back over to conceptualism. Kang himself, themselves, all of the different Kangs and the different, Council of Kings, if you want to talk the end of the movie, but they're just a weird thing for the average Joe to comprehend and to kind of sit through. Of course, we've all been introduced to multiverse type of things throughout all different types of mediums at this point, and it's something that maybe isn't the most popular thing per se, but especially with Marvel right now, it's kind of being talked about more. Everything Everywhere All at Once really helped with that this past year. And, these tough kind of conceptual things are kind of becoming more and more popular. And I think someone like Jonathan Majors understands not just the conceptual level of that, but the conceptual level of the character and how their life throughout time and endless life kind of just the general basis of the character of Kang. He understands, and not only does he understand that, he understands, I guess, the moviegoer's qualms with it to even try to comprehend sometimes. So he kind of takes a better approach with his acting than trying to be some over the top character. I like how he is acted, at least by Jonathan Majors, as a character that's calm, steady, precise, has poise, not too much poise, is definitely able to grapple and then go to blows when necessary. There was a little bit of a Creed 3 advertisement in the middle of the end fight there, because it just felt like he was going boxing on Paul Rudd there. The weird thing about it is I don't know if Kang is going to continue to hit like they expected him and them and all the Kangs to hit at Marvel. I really hope they do, and it does, because Kang the character is great, and I do like all these conceptual things that I keep rambling on about. But that performance was excellent, and I've heard people say that, why didn't we just have a Kang the Conqueror movie? Why doesn't Marvel just kind of bite the bullet and say, let's do a villain movie for once? And please, that would have been so much better. I feel like, not to go off topic or anything, but if we were given a movie with maybe just Janet Van Dyne figuring out that Hank and Hope and I guess Scott was not involved with it, but if Hope, Hank, and Cassie were all doing this little experiment and Cassie got her own uniform and stuff, make that the first act. And at the very end of the first act, have Janet figure out about it and Cassie try to explain it to her and show her all this. And then the two of them get sucked into the quantum realm. And then it's like truly a Kang film. And then you have almost Kang hunting them down or something like that. Almost Craven the Hunter style, but Quantumverse style. I don't know, Quantum Realm style, not Quantumverse, excuse me. I'm just spitballing. There are so many different things that you could tweak to this movie to make better. That was just kind of a general plot point that came to mind off the cuff there. But, one thing that I would have tweaked, and was one of my first thoughts coming out of the film, was one of the bad things about this film was, good Lord, was MODOK. I love Corey Stoll. Corey Stoll's a significantly underrated actor, and he's really a talented guy. But you could tell he didn't want to be there. You could tell he didn't really find everything he was saying funny, and you could tell he was there for a paycheck. Honestly, I mean, half the time Marvel actors are, not half the time, but it feels like it is half the time now. Honestly, it's growing increasingly so, and Corey Stoll was a prime example of that. I did not like MODOK. I like the character of MODOK. I like the character, and it's an interesting character. It's a weird character, and it was always going to be a hard character to bring into live action. But this just was not the way. Like literally those funny memes that people are putting out with George Lopez from Spy Kids 3D on there, essentially looking the same. I do prefer George Lopez in Spy Kids 3 over Corey Stoll as MODOK in this film. He completely took any gravitas away from the final sequences of the movie prior to Scott and King themselves fighting. I don't understand how that got to be. I think a lot of it had to do with there is a decent cult fan base behind the MODOK show on Hulu, and I guess that's what they were trying to emulate, but it just did not hit for me at all. And this is what I was thinking earlier with Bill Murray's Kyler character, or Lord Kyler, whatever it was. If Kang has these generals, I'm assuming MODOK was more of like a Darth Maul, like a little assassin to send out, compared to like a General Grievous or a Count Dooku. Because, you know, I'm thinking Star Wars. I'm always thinking Star Wars. Kyber crystalling it up. But why pay for Bill Murray if you're only going to use him in legitimately one scene of the movie? So riddle me this. How much more sense would it have made to have Bill Murray come back as Kang's general and not have MODOK at all? Just have Bill Murray hunting down the whole team. Say, okay, well, he's spending half of his time looking for Janet, and now, oh, wait, you need to go find Scott Lang. This guy's very important to me. He's an Avenger, this, and that. Okay, now he's going to divide his attention in two different ways. Maybe you introduce a sub-character under Bill Murray that wants to gain Bill Murray's not necessarily trust, but his adjournment just as much as Bill Murray wants to be there for Kang and be like, yes, I'm your guy. Yeah, you can trust me. I'm your general. I'm your happy-go-lucky guy that if you need anything, I got you, man. You know, Bill Murray could have had a lackey that was kind of trying to prove himself, and that would have been cool to see, if not Bill Murray himself having split his attention two different ways, and then that becoming his eventual defeat prior to Kang saying, all right, my army's not working. Let me come down and face these guys myself. That, I feel like, could have been so much better, and it really wouldn't have been all that much different, but just enough where you don't need Bill Murray in that many scenes. That could have been limited to like 7, maybe 8, 9 scenes, but 7 is even like pushing it. Really, you needed like one scene of him hunting Janet and I guess Janet was kind of by herself. And then another scene of them hunting, or I guess no, Janet is with Hank and Hope, of course. And that's what you would have had. One scene of Bill Murray. I'm all over the place. I apologize. You could have had one scene of Bill hunting Janet, Hope, and Hank, and one scene of Bill hunting Scott and Cassie, and then one scene of kind of him discussing these things with Kang, and then another scene of him at the end, and maybe another scene of like his eventual defeat kind of at the end. That could have been cool. I guess the doors are open for him to come back if they want to do a Quantum Realm, any kind of show or movie at this point, but who's asking for that now? You know, I just feel like the ball was missed. The bat swung, and it did not hit. It just, it could have been so much more. I do enjoy it a lot as a B-level sci-fi film, but it could have been that highbrow sci-fi with just a minor tweak or 2 or 3. and it could have maybe saved them a lot of money and CGI, because MODOK is just a very expensive character. And Corey Stoll, I imagine, is not the most expensive actor, but he's not a cheap actor either. So you have to hire a guy to go do all these different things. You may be able to just use old photos of his face, but there are better options. And I believe Marvel knows that. And they decided to do this anyway, which is just kind of, it hurts leading into Phase 5. And after Phase 4 was so lackluster compared to 1, 2, 3, the Infinity Saga per se, it's just I stream on Sidetrack every Sunday morning talking about sci-fi things. I love Stargate. I love Star Wars. Not the biggest Star Trek guy, but I've seen a lot of sci-fi films. I've seen a lot of fantasy films. Those are easily my two favorite genres. I'm a genre guy, but I love indies. I love all these different things, and indies are particularly good about bringing just weird, trippy sci-fi things. And I try to go see all these weird, trippy sci-fi movies, and they do highbrow sci-fi for so cheap, so simply, so many times, and with the just exposure and capability that Marvel has, I don't see how they drop the ball like this for something that could have been just magnificent in so many ways. Because the multiversal saga is just, it ain't hidden, you know? And I really wish it were, because I love Sam Raimi, I love Peyton Reed, and I love these I love these different creators they have, but come on, you know, it's just not as I don't know what got away from them besides, I guess, maybe Kevin Feige's pure creative control, which is great if you can expand your creative control and have that quality control still there. But I guess he needs to rein in people a little more, because come on. That Sidetrack show is pretty cool. I must admit, I've watched it a few times. Shelly, you're there every week. You're the best. You know you are. But no, Sidetrack is really cool. And it kind of, we talk about these sci-fi concepts every week, and we talk about these things in a concept of a much cheaper budget. We're talking about Stargate stuff all the time. Stargate did literally almost everything the quantum realm involved at different points with so much less of a budget. 25 years ago. And these things obviously inspired the filmmakers here. Why didn't they inspire them enough to kind of say, hey, hold up, let's make sure this is done right? I don't know. But let's change the tune just a little bit and bring a little happy back into it. Hopefully happy. And let's talk Phase 5. Yes, sometimes we do talk about dissecting cats and ham and bacon, science class, and then we get hungry too. You know, it's a fun time. That was actually such a fun chat last week. This past week on Sidetrack, we just talked about kind of whatever, and it was such a fun time, because usually we have, you know, a specific topic and we're honing things in and debating and discussing and doing all that good stuff. But this time, the most debating and discussing we did was about British pants or American pants, or Canadian bacon, British bacon, American bacon, bacon. It was a good time. So go check that rerun if you haven't seen it, but I know you have, Shelly. Let's jump into I guess what Marvel has coming now in Phase 5, because we've kind of discussed how the Phase 5 has begun, but not how the Phase 5 will continue. So next up, we actually have, I'll preface this, because there are two things I was excited for this year, Marvel-wise, because just, you know, like I just kind of ranted about it, it's just declining in quality and not the best way. And although I like Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2 a whole lot, I'm worried about 3. And I'll get to that momentarily. But Secret Invasion was the only thing I was excited for on Marvel's slate this year besides Ant-Man 3 Quantumania. Ant-Man disappointed me And Secret Invasion is the next thing we get in spring of 2023. I don't think it has a specific release date yet, but it says spring of 2023. And I'm super excited about it because it's Sam Jackson and Emilia Clarke, and it looks like it has a really great cast. It's in the vein of The Winter Soldier, so I would hope it's great, but I'm just kind of worried now. It doesn't necessarily feel like it's gonna hit the way I'd like it to and hope it would, but we'll see. All the scrolls are actually great. I believe. Christopher Mendelsohn, is that his name? Ben Mendelsohn. Yeah, Ben Mendelsohn. That's his name. I don't know where Christopher came from, but Ben Mendelsohn is back as the kind of leader of the Skrulls, I believe. I hope he's there because he's also a great actor and he brings a lot to the role. And he was one of the good things about Captain Marvel. Same thing with Sam Jackson. So with Nick Fury, with the King of the Skrulls or leader of the Skrulls, and then Emilia Clarke playing the bad Skrull. I mean, it has great, great, great potential. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed for that one. And if that doesn't hit, I'm going to be really upset with Marvel. I don't know. I'll keep talking about Marvel and I'll keep seeing it just because what Iron Man came out when I was 9 years old. And it's just something that's been, this whole franchise has been throughout my childhood and adulthood. It's not going away, so I'll stick with it. But come on, bring me something I can be excited about. That's all I'm asking. Please, please, please. But after Secret Invasion, we have Guardians 3 on May 5th. And I really like Guardians 1, and I really like Guardians 2. There are some people that say Guardians 2 isn't as good as Guardians 1. I'm kind of in the camp where I might like it a little better. I love Kurt Russell. The concepts, once again, of that film are really well handled and easily digestible for both general audience and your sci-fi kind of highbrow, extra nerdy folk like myself, of course. And it kind of hits on every single level. And then the end with the father and son song with Yondu being sent off into it gets me. A little Cat Stevens. I love Cat Stevens, so that's why it gets me. But I am not a fan of Peacemaker, and I liked Suicide Squad or The Suicide Squad, I guess, the first time I watched it. Then a second time I didn't, and the more I revisit those kind of projects, the less I like them. It is one of the things that I'm worried about with the DCU going forward as well. Is I think James Gunn is the guy that I really respect him as a creator and I like a lot of his work. But when Guardians was introduced, all the Guardians have their own personalities, yes, but they also are all the same fucking character. Excuse my French. They're just the same character with different emotions at different times, really. And Marvel, all of Marvel has slowly become the same quippy character with different emotions at different times. And nobody feels genuinely like a singular character anymore. That's why Kang was so good in Antman and Quantumania, because he felt like a character of his own. And once again, that's why Janet was also really good. Michelle Pfeiffer was great because she was the only person that felt like their own individual in that movie. And that's what I worry about with Guardians 3. That's what I worry about with the DCU going forward. But it's really what I worry about with Guardians 3 and just all of Marvel at the moment, because Marvel is caught up in just how many quips can we get out per minute over legitimate, just heartfelt storytelling. And that should never. I love quips. I love funny stuff. Comedy can bring gravity in different moments in weird ways, but it brings that levity that's necessary after those strong gravity felt moments. And whoo, where's that gone? You know, it's just it's Thor: Love and Thunder, and then this was just MODOK. Like, oh, it hurts. But anyway, cautiously optimistic for Guardians 3, but trepidatious as well. And then we have Loki season 2, and Michael Waldron is a great writer. I feel like I really love his brain, and most of the time like his writing, if that makes sense. I feel like he can handle these topics and these concepts really, really well. He does the multiverse stuff better than I think most others have at the moment, besides probably the Daniels and maybe the His Dark Materials people, because that's just multiverse done so well and so simply. I feel like he's got a great brain for it, but trying to tie all these different ends together with the Marvel train, I guess you could even call it, is a struggle. And you can tell. And I worry with Loki because of that. Because Loki started out very strong and it ended very strong. Those last 2 episodes and the first 2 episodes. But I do not like those middle 4 episodes. I kind of enjoyed them, I guess, the first time I watched them just because it was getting me along through the show. But after going back, it was just it felt heartless compared to the importance of the first two and the importance of the last two. And those were where the character moments actually happened. When your character moments are supposed to happen in the middle of the show where the plot is really happening at the beginning and the end. And, that's subject to change for every different project, but I wasn't as pleased as I would have liked to have been. Of course, it ended awesomely with oh my god, not Cary Grant, not Hugh Grant, obviously. What's his name? The guy that played the older Loki in the 7th episode of Loki, in a couple other episodes, but he did really great. I can't believe his name is escaping me at the moment. And then, of course, Jonathan Majors as He Who Remains was awesome. But I feel like it was just too little too late for that one. And, I just expected more from the series as a whole. And there are a lot of people that love Loki, and I would never take that away from y'all. But I still desire more because there can be more. There is more to be given. And I believe the creators that are behind it can definitely do better. So I'm optimistic, but definitely cautious, and there is trepidation going into Loki season 2. But then on July 28th, because Loki season 2 is summer, so that's just general summer. I'm not sure they have a specific release date yet, but The Marvels comes out July 28th, and I'll be honest, the one show that I have yet to watch on Disney Plus is I haven't seen the shorts, the Groot shorts. But the one show that I have yet to watch on Disney Plus is Iman Vellani's, not Captain Marvel, Miss Marvel. And everything I've seen from it is supposed to be great. I know people love it. There are a couple like CGI things, I guess, towards like the middle of the season when she gets her powers or something like that, that some people were like, okay, this is a little funky. So it's not perfect, but it's something that I actually really look forward to watching, and that's kind of the reason I haven't watched it yet, because it's the one thing I think that I'd really like, and I just don't want to taint the even idea that I would really like it, because I worry after Phase 4. It's just not something. It's not the same thing that I grew up on and am growing up on. It just feels distanced in many ways. That being said, I just can't speak. Monica Rambeau, her character from WandaVision, was my favorite part of WandaVision, and just the conceptual aspect of the character. I'll say my favorite word again. Is amazing. I love her character. I don't know if she's necessarily going to be Photon or what's the other option? It's her and her mom, Maria Rambeau. I know their characters switch off in comics kind of sometimes. But she's playing one of those two characters, and I believe Photon is most likely the character she's playing, which is a super cool character. And I really look forward to, I like the actress a lot. I think she can do a lot with that role. And, Brie Larson is kind of controversial, and she's not perfect. Nobody is. But that being said, I really love The Glass Castle, and that's one of my favorite movies. Scott Pilgrim versus the World is awesome. And Brie Larson's just done a lot of great projects over the years. I don't necessarily like how she tends to treat people in public, and her castmates and her crewmates, and that's a little off-putting, yeah. But she's a good actress, and Captain Marvel itself was not a great film, but it was a good film. It was solid. It was cookie cutter Marvel, but it was good. And it was better than the swing and a miss Marvel like Iron Man 2 or Thor 2. Uh, I don't know if it was better than Avengers Age of Ultron, because that movie has kind of grown on me over time. But Captain Marvel was all right, and not Miss Marvel, excuse me, the Marvels. I'm increasingly growing a little bit of faith in it, but I'm not like pumped or amped or excited per se for it. Now, next, I guess after that is Ironheart, and that's supposed to be fall of this year in 2023. And I like the character Ironheart in the comics. I like the concept once again of the character and everything she's about. I did not like the way she was handled at all in Black Panther Wakanda Forever. And I love, love, love Ryan Coogler, but that was an impossible task. And I think he lived up to the task of making the film pretty well. Uh, it's just not a perfect film by any means, and I think Ironheart shouldn't have been anywhere near it. Uh, so I'm trepidatious going into that this fall. But at the off chance that Robert Downey Jr. comes back for a cameo, or Don Cheadle kind of starts hanging around or something, we'll see. It could be better. It could be good. But I'm going to keep my fingers crossed for that one. I know Anthony Ramos is in that, so Anthony Ramos is a great actor, and I expect him to elevate that project. But trepidatious on that one. But then we have Daredevil Born Again coming spring of 2024, and that'll be the first project of 2024, and Daredevil is something to be excited for. I love Charlie Cox as Daredevil. Even the more kind of quippy character version of him in She-Hulk was by and far the best thing of the whole show. And I look forward to seeing him as Daredevil in this yellow costume just be Daredevil and do cool things. I like that street level crime fighting kind of superhero, and Daredevil is perfect in that. And I think Charlie Cox has proven himself to be an exquisite Daredevil. So Daredevil Born Again has a lot kind of holding on its shoulders, if that makes sense. It's got a lot. It's got a weight to it, because it's really going to be all right. What are we in for? Because the street level stuff in Marvel has always been the best, and kind of continues to be. Honestly, I love the concept stuff. I love the cosmic stuff. I love these weird, trippy, super nerdy, comic-y type things. But the street stuff's the best. My favorite film still to this day of Marvel is The Winter Soldier. Infinity War is probably number 2. But, I love Antman. I love the original Captain America. Iron Man, the first one, a lot more grounded, is just fantastic. The third one, where it tries to kind of reground itself, I think is underrated. There are things to switch up in that movie and change. But I think it's underrated, and I like Shane Black in there. His direction, I think, was decent. Still things I would have changed about it. But these grounded films for Marvel tend to be the best ones, these street-level films. And Daredevil is going to be kind of the perfect thing to continue that. I hope Secret Invasion hits it well this year. Daredevil starts it off well next year, and that just carries into Captain America New World Order on May 3rd, because that'd be wonderful. That's kind of exactly what we've been asking for. And these are characters that aren't so big and huge, and you have to get this CGI army here to even try to tackle their evil doings. It's just getting a little much. Bring us back to those concise storylines that just have meaning for the character. It doesn't need to be, oh, the world's gonna end. It could be, this character's cousin got captured and is going to be killed. This character's mom is being tortured this way. They have to go save them. something. I don't know. Those are just general, I guess, ideas as well. But there's something that could be done with these street level things that has not been done recently with Marvel that they definitely need to get back to. I'm looking forward to Secret Invasion for that. Daredevil next year is really going to be, I guess, Ironheart at the end of this year will also be that street level kind of, what are we doing? But there is magic involved there, and there is also Iron Man things going on. So it's not as street level, I guess, as these other projects. But Secret Invasion, Daredevil, Captain America, New World Order next year, and then Thunderbolts are all going to be very street level. And I'm those are probably my most excited things that I have out of their release slate for Phase 5. Because Thunderbolts, the only thing I have with Thunderbolts is kind of opposite of what I've just said, though, is kind of it's a little too street level because everybody's powers are essentially the same. So who's in charge? Why are they in charge? And why is anybody else listening to them? I think Ghost and Abomination should have been included in this list. Ghost is just the most underused character in Marvel that has just cool freaking powers while staying fairly street level. Never left an Antman movie. Should have been used in Avengers Endgame, but I've got hopes for Thunderbolts. I like the whole cast, but it could go awry just as easily as it could go well, and I will hold a little bit of trepidation there, but I am cautiously optimistic for that one. I am optimistic for Captain America: New World Order because I love Anthony Mackie, but Winter Soldier was that most recent street level type thing, and that I was looking forward to so much. And it was a letdown on every account. I'm a fan of Aaron Kellyman. I'm a fan of Wyatt Russell. I'm a fan of Anthony Mackie. I'm a fan of Sebastian Stan. And just nothing, little bits and pieces really did hit in that show, but little bits and pieces was it. And I expected a lot more and just never got it from there. So I am cautious, emphasis on cautiously optimistic about Thunderbolt. I just hope there are a couple more characters that are introduced, and maybe if we do get like a Red Hulk and Thunderbolts, that Red Hulk kind of whips the team around a little bit, because it's Marvel's answer to Suicide Squad or the Suicide Squad, either one. And I know it's not going to be that dark, as dark as either one of them, but it needs to be brutal because these are not simple people. They're generally your anti-heroes and or bad guys, and they're not going to agree with each other. They need to be whipped around a little bit, right? So hopefully Marvel understands the gravity they have to achieve there, and hopefully they do. Please, no quips in that one. That's not a quippy movie. Thunderbolt should not be a quippy movie. There could be a quippy character that has comic relief, but it doesn't need to be a quippy movie. So next up after that is September 6th with Blade. And I don't know if that's actually going to stay true to that date. They've moved it around a few times at this point. But Mahershala Ali is a phenomenal actor. He deserves both of his Academy Awards. And I love everything the guy's done. I really hope he enjoys making Blade. I believe they're filming right now because, he wasn't happy with the script, kept getting it pushed back and kept trying to get new people on board to write these different things, rewrite this, yada, 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 whatever it may be. And I worry for his sake that it's not going to live up to the standards that he was like, okay, I've done 2 amazing things with my career. I feel confident enough to go to Marvel and say, let's do this and let's do it well. And if they don't do it well, they're going to not only, because they've lost a lot of fan goodwill at this point, and you don't want to lose that with actors as well. And if you lose Mahershala Ali's goodwill, you're going to lose a lot of people's goodwill, and probably mine included. So come on, it's Blade. Please do it well. Please do it well, because Blade's a little street level. He's a little kind of more than street level, but the one thing that he mainly is that kind of horror dark aspect of Marvel, and he's introducing that. So it's pivotal that he just can come in there and make a splash, a lot more of a splash, more of a wave. And Blade's, there's a lot riding on Blade, and I really hope they do well with it. I'm just worried about it. If you lose Mahershala Ali's goodwill, you're going to lose a lot of the actors under your belt's goodwill, and with the fan goodwill waning, it's not looking great. I hope those things turn around though, because next year definitely looks mainly starting this fall with Ironheart, then Daredevil, and then Captain America: New World Order, then Thunderbolts, and then Blade. That's the tail end of this year, all the way into the majority of next year. Those could all be really good. They don't need to like overdo any of those movies. The Marvels and Loki this year and Guardians, you can definitely overdo. So that's where the trepidation really is. And there's still trepidation for next year. Don't get me wrong. But there's hope. I think. I hope there's hope. So the other two things that I haven't really talked about are Agatha: Coven of Chaos, which is confirmed for 2024 at some point. I'm not positive because they've moved the release date around a few times, but I know it's in 2024 at some point. At some point officially now, if I can speak English. And I love Catherine Hahn. Aubrey Plaza is one of the villains in the show, so I'm very excited to see her. And I understand, I guess, that they're bringing Wiccan into it, one of Wanda's children. Fingers crossed on it. I'm kind of neutral on it because I have hope. I really like the cast, and it's something that you can keep simple. Definitely trepidation there, but it could still be all right. It could still be all right. I'm going to have my fingers crossed on that one because they did push it back. I think they understand that I think this show is going to be their first show that they're saying, okay, well, we really want to make sure it's good. Where all these other shows, I hope they're good. The ones that come out this year and most of next year. But I think Daredevil will be good because they're kind of taking a new approach like they have done with Agatha. Starting really with Agatha since Bob Iger got re-inducted as CEO after Bob Chapek left. After Bob Iger left, But I'm hopeful. I like witchy stuff. I've been playing some Hogwarts, so I like witchy wizardy things. Give us something cool. Give us some cool sorcery, but fingers crossed. Then there's Echo, and Echo is got just as much potential technically as Daredevil does, but it could go just as much awry as Hawkeye did. And I feel like I like Hawkeye more than your average person does. I'm just a big fan of Jeremy Renner and Haley Steinfeld, of course. But Echo could be great, or it couldn't. And I think it will be good. Just we don't know until we get closer. It's sometime going to be it's going to be released sometime in 2023 or 2024. Not positive on the release date. They kind of keep moving it around and shuffling it. I don't know if it's going to release prior to or after Daredevil Born Again, and if it will rope into the storyline there at all. It'll be interesting. I've got high hopes because the character is really cool. And Alakwa Cox seems like a really cool actress. I don't know how much she's done. I don't think she's really done that much at all. Maybe Hawkeye was even her first acting role, if I remember correctly. But that just means that weight is on her shoulders to get it done well that much more. And I think someone that has gone through the trials and tribulations of life that she has will take that weight on with heavy but strong shoulders and tackle it well. And with being, I guess, that closely involved with, like Daredevil and characters like Hawkeye and things like that, there's hope. There's hope. Trepidation, yes, but there's hope. So I'm hoping the two ones that we're not really sure of the release dates, Agatha and Echo, those I'm a little more neutral on, surprisingly. I've kind of surprised myself because I kind of expected to talk, not poo-poo them or anything, but, just kind of be much more trepidatious like I am for most of these projects for those two. But after kind of talking over all these different things, I feel like I am a little more neutral on those two out of everything. Trepidatious on a lot, but I am excited for Secret Invasion still, for the most part. And I'm excited for all the different street level things that could be coming in 2024 and at the very, very tail end of 2023. So, I'm hoping it's great. I'm hoping it's all good. If Marvel throws a wrench at me and says, you know what, we got to make every single thing great, you won't see me complaining. I'll be a happy camper. But, we'll see what happens. That's what we got to do. We wait for the trailers, we wait for commercials, we wait for the advertisements, and then we go see the movie itself or the show itself. And one way or another, it happens. I don't know. I was trying to find something cool or funny to say there, but it just happens. They're movies, they're TV shows, the projects that are released, and we'll see. I'm not super excited about all of them. I'm not, oh God, why are they making this about any of them, thankfully. So, cautiously optimistic is my general output for Marvel at the moment. That's my MCU kind of mindset at the moment and going into the rest of Phase 5. Yeah, we'll see what happens. Come on, Kevin Feige. You're the most interesting and the coolest producer that has ever done anything. Bring back the magic, my man. Bring back the magic. That's all I'm asking. That's all of us fans are asking. And please do not lose your actors and producers and directors' goodwill like the fan goodwill has waned recently. But that's all I got to say to Marvel and Disney and all them folks over there. Besides that, come back here in a couple hours. We actually have Schmook streaming his afterthoughts for The Last of Us Episode 6, which was the best episode yet, in my personal opinion, from someone who hasn't played the games or anything. I really like this past episode. Episode 5 was my favorite. Yeah, it was my favorite prior to this, and Episode 6 came in and knocked it off its pedestal. But the first episode's still my third favorite if I had to choose. I really like this series, and yeah, come jam out to some Last of Us talking with Schmook later. I think he's streaming at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 10 p.m. Central Standard Time, and of course, if you ever want to go back and check that stream out, we'll have afterthoughts going. But Schmook will be streaming later. We're doing a little bit of a double stream today, and tomorrow come back because we'll be talking about Movie Tuesday, what you should go see on Discount Movie Tuesday. And, probably a little bit more about Quantumania because, we didn't even talk about the budget and the weekend gross estimate from, or I guess I'm going to have to decide because President's Day is today. Tomorrow, should I include President's Day in the weekend total, even though it's a Monday? It's still a long weekend, I guess, so they are lucking out there because they made $104 million overall for the weekend, but including today, Monday, it's looking like they'll get 120, maybe 115 and 121, somewhere in that realm. So we will know, obviously, by tomorrow, and I will be back with those numbers. And maybe we'll just talk about them both. That's what we'll do, probably, just to keep it simple and kind of give everybody that good mental gauge about those numbers there. And yeah, that's all I've got for you today. So come say howdy to Schmook later. Say howdy to me tomorrow on Movie Tuesday. We'll see. I think Wednesday we're doing a long format video. I'll set for premiere so we can all discuss and talk live, but it is a pre-recorded video. I think it's going to be roughly probably I actually haven't looked at the video itself. It's most likely between 40 minutes and an hour, kind of hour 15. I'm assuming it's probably going to be roughly an hour, and that should be Brad and Schmook discussing James Gunn and the DCU slate and kind of their thoughts about it coming from a Snyderverse kind of mindset. And that's going to be a fun one. Because, I'm not much of a Snyder kind of guy myself. I hate saying that because I really do like a lot of his projects. And Watchmen is probably my singular favorite comic book film. I since then, I've fallen out of love with the director. But Brad and Schmook adore the guy. So it is really interesting to kind of just hear these different things because obviously I've talked a little bit about it last week. And, we'll get a little bit into it on Wednesday as well. Thursday, of course, Theater Thursday, and Cocaine Bear is Thursday. I'm so excited for Cocaine Bear. That movie's going to be so much fun. So expect a Ticket or Skip It and an out-of-theater reaction for that one shortly thereafter. And I really need to I'm filming today a couple Ticket or Skip It's for you, including Knock at the Cabin and Antman Quantumania, because those have just been escaping my to-do list. But now they're there and at the top of it, and we'll be done. So keep your eyes out for those. Come back later today. Come back tomorrow. Come back Wednesday. Come back Thursday. And we're just going to have a good time. We're getting back in the groove of things. And I'll see you for some more movie-loving goodness on MCubed. Hopefully soon. See ya.